A warm welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University B.Sc first year students. Today I am going to discuss statistics subject. The main importance of statistics subject, we know that what is statistics? Statistics is a method of science judging collective, natural and social phenomenon from the results obtained analysis and enumeration of collection of estimates. Why we use statistics? We can find inferences about the data. The data may be natural and social phenomenon. That means living and non-living beings. So, without data we can't analyze any problem. So, we can use importance of data collection methods. A sound structure of statistical investigation is based on a systematic collection of data. Data is generally classified into two groups, that is primary data, secondary data. So, primary data, the name itself included primary. Primary means first. So, the definition is also same as primary data refers to the data collected for the first time. Primary data are organized by a researcher for the specific purpose of addressing the problem on hand. For example, the statistics collected by the government organization relating to the population is primary data for that organization, since it has been collected to achieve a particular objective. For example, if you take the election, before the election one can do the survey. What survey? Population survey. So, it is mainly included primary data. It is an example of primary data. So, a data set collected by an organization to know its customer perception from its customers. It is another example for primary data. Primary data might be a qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative means one can measure it, that is called the qualitative. For example, height, weight, length, temperature, these are examples of quantitative data. So, which can be measured. How we can measure? Like in units like inches, kilograms, meters, centigrades, etc. So, we can see in newspapers temperature recorded in a particular city. In each season wise we can display in each day. So, that is quantitative measurement. Next one, qualitative data. What does mean qualitative? That we cannot identify, it can happen only, like honesty and like, dislike, these are qualitative phenomenon. Methods of collecting primary data. The following four important methods for primary data. One is direct personal interviews, second one is indirect oral interviews, information from correspondence, mailed questionnaire methods. Direct personal interview. Direct personal interview means face to face eye contact. That is, this method is face to face interview. Investigator will contact the respondents from whom the information is to be obtained. The interviewer also asks the questions to the respondents pertaining to the survey and collect the required information. Thus, if a person wants to collect data regarding perceptions on the working condition of the employee of an IT company in Hyderabad, he will go to the company concerned, contact the employee working in the organization and obtain the desired information. The information collected in this manner is first hand, also organized in character. It is known as primary data. The second one is door to door interview. In this method, investigator contact the respondents at their residence. See the picture here, door-to-door survey. This method gives an opportunity to an investigator to uncover some real facts and figures, otherwise it is very difficult to obtain the data. Mail intercept interview. The investigator stationed at the entrance of the shopping mall invite the respondents to participate in the structured interview process. Nowadays, if we go the shopping mall, there some give the some small slip and write it and signature it like asking. So, that is mail intercept interview. It is a cost efficient approach. In addition, due to limited coverage space, a researcher can control the interview up to some extent, which is otherwise it extremely difficult when the respondents are scattered in a huge geographical area. See this picture, this is a mail intercept interview. Self-administered questionnaire. No interview is involved. A series of questions are presented to the respondents without the intervention of the investigator. This method eliminates investigator bias in any form of personal clarification to some of the questions of the survey by the investigator is missing. Computer assisted personal interview. In this method, the respondents provide their information input through a computer terminal by using keyboard. To collect large amounts of data, investigator will use this method. Nowadays, we can see in mobile and electronic items, there may be some feedback. So, if there yes or no questions, feedback forms like that. So, one can answer those questions, that is called computer assisted personal interview. Observation. Under the method, investigate collects the information by observing the respondent and recovers the data. This is the most useful method in some marketing studies where consumer behavior is studied. Merits and demerits of this. Respondent feel free to give the required information when contacted personality. One can suddenly ask the question, we can get fear about the to give answer. So, that is. So, most of the times the data collected through this method is more accurate because of the face to face interaction. If you ask directly, we can't say no, we can give actual information. So, that is the main merit. This method also provides the scope for getting supplementary information from the respondent, because while interviewing it is possible to ask some supplementary questions which may be greater use later. The interviewer can change his language according to the educational status and level of understanding of the respondents to avoid inconvenience and confusion of the respondent. Demerits. This method is expensive. If the number of respondents spread widely in large geographical area, there is a greater chance of personal bias and prejudice under this method as compared to other method. Why this method is expensive? Because if we want to collect the data from the respondents, it requires more labor. That is why we can say it is expensive. And we can sometimes the persons give biased answers to the related problem. So, that is also one demerit. The interviewers have to thoroughly train and experience it, otherwise they may not be able to obtain the desired information. Means how to ask the questions to the respondent. The skill is very important to collect the information in primary data. So, untrained or poorly trained interviewers may spoil the entire work. They can't collect the right information from the respondents. If you want to get the information from the respondents, the skills are required. This method is more time taking as compared to other methods. Yes, it taking more time. Why? Because we have to visit the vendors, we have to meet the respondents, and we have to tell the questions respondent language. So that's why it will take more time. This method is also expensive and it taking more time. So this because interviews can be held only at the convenience of the informants. Next, indirect oral interviews. According to this method, the investigator meets the third parties, generally called witness, who are capable of supplying necessary information. First is directly face to face interview, and the second one is, this is also data collection method in primary, that is indirect oral interviews. Generally, this method can be employed when the data to be collected is complex in nature and respondent may not be willing to give information directly. So, this is the picture indirect oral investigation. Examples: when the researcher is trying to obtain data on drug addiction or an AIDS disease or and the habit of alcohol drinking, respondent may not show to share information with the investigate. In these situations, researcher will approach third person or third parties who know information regarding the respondents. This method of data collection is called indirect oral interview. The accuracy of the data depends upon the ability of investigator to draw information from the third parties. It is difficult also. Merits: a wide area can be covered. It is economical in terms of time, cost and manpower. Confidential information can be collected. This method is relatively simple to understand. And only one demerit of this method is degree of accuracy of information sometimes is less and it may not be reliable. Means third person will not give sometimes actual information about that disease or whatever we can take up. Next one is information from correspondence. According to this method, investigator appoints local agents or correspondents in different places to collect information. These correspondents collect and pass the information to the central office where data processed. This method is generally adopted by newspaper agencies. Correspondents who are posted at different places supply information to the head office. This method is also adopted generally by the government departments in such cases where regular information is to be collected from a wide area. This method is more economical and appropriate of investigation, but it may not be always ensure accurate results because of the personal prejudice and bias of correspondents. Means if we keep any observer, the observer is known to that person, there may be chance of bias to collect the information. Merits: it is an economical method and the investigation is extensive. This method is widely used to supply information on a continuous basis. In case of skilled and experienced local agents, the data obtained of good quality. So, for example, if you want to find the quality of the product, how the product is manufacturing in a company, so that head office will keep some observers. So, those observers will give the reliable information, then only we can find out the quality of the product. Demerits: the data obtained by this method may not be reliable because of personal prejudice. This means if a person is reliable, he can collect the information is also correct, but he may not willing to give the suitable result because he doesn't want to give the actual result. He want to stop, he want to wait, he want to check one more time to him. So, these are taken place in this method. Next, mailed questionnaire method. Mailed questionnaire method, why we use mail? Every time the person can't meet the respondent. Sometimes mail also used. So that's why we can use, means the time consumed to meet the persons, respondents. According to the problem also, some problems directly if we meet only we can get the information and actual result. Some problems we can also go through using the mail. That's why we can use mail questionnaire method. So one thing is main important, all these methods based on the what data we are collecting is a very important one. So that's why questionnaire is the set of questions for collecting desired information from the respondents. A questionnaire can be administered personally or mailed to the respondents. It is an efficient method of collecting primary data when the investigator knows what exactly is required and how to measure the variable of interest as behavior, past, present or intended, demographic characteristics, age, gender, income and occupation, level of knowledge, attitudes and opinions. The questionnaire design process is a stepwise and structured process which begins with converting study objectives into information needs and specifying the populations. Merits of mailed questionnaire method. Data can be easily collected by using this method. Cost of data collection by using the method is less. This method takes less time by using the data collection methods. This method is easy to collect personal information of the respondents. Demerits. This method we cannot use on illiterates. One can mail means they have to create a mail, the respondent also have the mail and what the investigator also have to be mail. So mail means it is an electronic device, so that's why illiterates can't do this method. So most of the times the collected data by this method may not be precise. We may not get complete information from the respondent. Very difficult to verify the accuracy of the data. Means when we are collecting the information through mail, whatever the data is related answer is received or not, that is the main important. For that only we can assess the required data. Method of collecting primary data I explained, those are what ma'am? Direct personal interview, next one is indirect oral interview and third one is information from correspondence and the fourth one is mailed questionnaire methods. Is it all applicable for the same data? These are the questions takes place. Is it not same for the same data? The first one is direct personal interview is quite different of the indirect oral interviews. So direct personal interview takes place face to face. Direct eye contact, we can investigator ask to the respondents. Indirect oral interview is what? Here see the picture of indirect oral interview. Next one is mail intercept interview. Direct personal interviews and the second one is indirect oral interviews. So this picture shows indirect oral interview and third one is mall intercept interview. Here this picture shows means in shopping mall we can seek the information from the respondents. This is the mall intercept interview and the second example is office interview. These are interview indirect oral interviews. Third one is information from correspondence. So that is information corresponds is nothing but here we can take third party. So third party taken place to collect the information about the problem. The fourth one is what? Mailed questionnaire methods. In this method, the respondent and the investigator both should be skilled and experienced persons. They are literate only. Illiterate people can't find and can't give the information regarding mail questionnaire methods. So, all 4 methods are data collection methods only and primary data collection methods only, but there is a difference of all these 4 internal difference, the first one and second one and third one and fourth one. These are called primary data collection methods. Which is best among these 4 methods? That is the question. Direct and personal interview will give us more reliable information compared to indirect moral interviews and compared to information from correspondence and compared to mail questionnaire methods. Sources of data collection methods take in place: primary data and secondary data. As I was explained about primary data, why we use secondary data is a question to us. What is secondary data? What is primary data? Primary data is originally we can collect from the respondents, that is the primary data, and it give more reliable result than the secondary data. As I explained, all these 4 methods will take more time and more expensive also. In order to reduce certain circumstances, we can use secondary data. So, secondary data having some sources of methods, so that we can discuss later. So, why the primary data is main important to data collection methods? Why we can use primary data? I already explained one example that in government sector we can collect the information from the respondents, that is the primary data. For example, census, complete enumeration survey, this is the most important. We can know 5 years one can come to our home, they can ask the questions: how many family members in your family, what is the age, how many are working, how many are not working. All these information can registered. Why? Because they can find out what is the population of the, if you take any area. For example, we can conduct the census in India population survey purpose, we can use the census. So, that is main important and one of the good example of the primary data. And next one is mailed questionnaire. Also I explained why we use mails, in why we can mail through the respondents, what is the purpose is required to get the information through mail. Once we can mail to the respondents regarding certain data, we can mail so many questions to the respondents seeking to know about the quality of the product. Nowadays online business, we can purchase items from online only nowadays. So, through mail they can give the information, your order is confirmed. They can also ask the question, please give the feedback of the product. These are all through mail only. So, means rating of mail interview method is nowadays is taking place and also taking major importance of that. Why? Because people having less time to go to vendor and purchase the items. All are busy, all are working, and so many transportation and electronic devices also framed to get the information from the respondents. That's why nowadays more popular the mail questionnaire method. It gives the information about living beings and non-living beings and government sector and private sector also.